Hey guys, welcome back. For those of you that watched last week's video, you would have seen me digging up all of these bones here that I've got today. But this video is going to be about how I'm going to prepare these bones for being able to use as specimen bones. So I just want to have a quick sort of look at what we actually dug up yesterday. We've got our third metatarsal bone, which is the Shannon bone. So it's the bone below the hock down to the fetlock on a hind limb. We had this one here, which is the third metacarpal bone, which would be from the knee down to the fetlock on the front limb. And then down from here we've got our P1s, P2s, we've got our P3 or the pedal bones. This actual pedal bone is still inside the hoof capsule, which is quite interesting to see. But unfortunately it looks like we're missing our navicular bone. We did manage to find the navicular bone for the forelimb, which was good. We've got a splint bone coming down here, which is slightly detached from the metacarpal bone. We can see the other splint bone, which is well and truly fused to that bone now. We only managed to find one proximal sesamoid bone. Again, more splint bones and a couple of carpal bones. I'm not too sure what this one is, but I think once we clean these bones up, we can see exactly where they belong. A little bit of hoof here. So on the whole, it was quite a good dig. We managed to find quite a few specimens, but now we're gonna try and clean them up and get them ready to use in the next video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a good wash, and then I'm going to put them in some hydrogen peroxide solution. So the hydrogen peroxide should give them bones a really good clean, and then what we'll do is we'll leave them for a day or two to dry off, and then see what they look like in a couple of days. So let's give them a good clean. The first job we're going to do, we're just going to give them a good clean with some household washing up liquid with a bit of water, just to get the majority of the muck off there, especially this one has still got a little bit of skin on, so it's pretty dirty. If I put that in a hydrogen peroxide, I'm just going to get a lot of muck in the solution, and I want to try and keep it as clean as possible to really do its job. Again, I'm going to try and clean this up, but what's going to be left of this hoof, I'm not too sure. You know, it's got a lot of mold on here, a lot of muck, a lot of dirt. You can see the sole's more or less coming away now. But it's an interesting find, especially with the pedal bones still inside. So I think that's really cool. So it's actually come out really clean. That nice articular surface here, so that's good. If you look at this bone here, you can see how rounded the hind metatarsal bone, the third metatarsal, is. So this one's still got the splint bone attached to it, so I want to be very careful. Just clean it up and then I'll show you what I'm referring to. Okay, so if we just take a little closer look, you can see how well fused this entire splint bone is. It just doesn't have a full connection here at the top, but all the way down it's really blended in with that metacarpal bone. And at the bottom here we have our button. To the button to the splint bone. Now if you run your hands down the back of your horse's leg, you can actually feel where this little button would be. It was probably this splint bone here. Yeah. So you can see how close that would have been to the bone. You've got your little, see how fragile these splint bones are. It's not rare that a horse would actually fracture its splint bone, and you can see why. You can see how fragile it is, but you can also see the groove that the splint bones create down the back of this bone, and it is where you'd find suspensory ligaments. So suspensory ligament would originate up here on the distal row of carpal bones and this proximal extremity of this bone, and it'll travel down in between here where it then bifurcates and goes over the fetlock. We will talk about the suspensory ligament in another video in the anatomy series, but you can just see how it creates that little channel for it to follow, protected, and you can also see how it increases the surface area here of the carpal joint. So take that away and take the other splint bone away, you really reduce that area. So here we have one of the distal phalanx, or the pedal bone, and I just want to show you how thin this distal edge of the pedal bone is. But it's such a small little bone, and when you consider the sheer force that the whole horse's skeleton, including all its soft tissue, all its muscles, its organs, are all being suspended from this bone within the hoof capsule. And especially at, say, a gallop, you know, a typical racehorse at gallop is putting sort of 4 times its mass down on one leg as it's galloping along. So all that force is coming through this little tiny bone and this little distal edge here. It's fascinating to me. It just shows you the strength of bones themselves, and the strength of cortical bone and cancellous bone as a material. When I drop it in the hydrogen peroxide, I hope to draw out all this black and have a nice clean bone at the end of it. I'm not too sure what's going to be left of this at the end of this. Actually, I know what I'll do. I'll take the pedal bone out. Just like that. This is already starting to decay. I don't know if we're going to have anything left at the end of it. I don't think we are, but we'll see. No, there we go. It's just falling apart. So there's our frog. I'm very tempted to just throw this away, but actually looking at it on the inside, it's actually a good specimen to talk about the laminae. You can actually see all the horn tubules. You can see the horn tubules. You can see each individual tubule as it travels down the hoof wall. So I'll probably use it in my my video about the laminae, about the insensitive laminae, and how hoof actually grows from the coronary band down to the ground. So yeah, I'll probably keep it. Okay, I'm going to throw all this away, and we're going to get the hydrogen peroxide set up, ready to submerge all these bones in this solution to draw out the rest of that muck that's in them bones, make sure they're nice and clean for when we use them as specimens in the future videos. So let me just clean this area up. We'll start with putting in this metatarsal bone, and hopefully we'll get a little bit of a fizz from it. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, it's just starting to fizz now. Not too sure if you can see that on the camera here. It's really reacting with all that dirt that's on them bones. So what I'll do is I'll throw the rest of these bones in here. I can really hear it now as well. We're getting a nice little fizz from it. So that's perfect. I know it's doing its job. I'll just top it up a little bit more. Okay guys, so that's all the bones in here now, all in this hydrogen peroxide solution. You can see all the bubbles. There's loads of fizzing going on, so I know it's actually doing what I wanted it to do. Give them bones a good clean up. So be sure to check back for part 3, where we see what happens in a couple of days time to these bones, and we'll see what I can come up with, how I'm going to build these specimens. and present them well, maybe on a nice wooden platform, really sort of show off the bony column of the horse's lower limb. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't seen part 1, do check it out. I'll put the link here. If you're interested in checking out the anatomy series of videos that I'm doing, I'll drop the link here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on another video. Cheers, guys.